Welcome to Evolution on the Mic. I am your host, Ariana de la Cruz.
And I'm your co-host, Antoine Dove.
And we are back, season 4, The Power of Positive Thinking, episode 2, Relationships and Positive Thinking. In our last episode, y'all, we kicked off our new season, which is all about the power of positive thinking. We started the discussion by defining what positive thinking is. We shared an acronym, HOPE, hope, for helping us to remember what positive thinking is, which stands for have only positive expectations. We also broke down positive thinking into 3 steps. 1, being mindful of your thoughts. 2, practicing gratitude. And 3, the importance of surrounding yourself with positive people. But on today's episode, we will be discussing the benefits of positive thinking in relationships. But before we get into all that, Antoine, how you doing? How you been?
I'm
How's
doing
your week been?
great. Yeah. The week's been good. I don't have much to report because I'm still, in the process of moving and getting things squared away for that. So nothing really big on that side to report. But I have to say, I've been thinking a lot about this positive thinking theme for this season. And I have to say, I'm really excited about it. When you start talking about certain things, it brings your awareness. And now I'm a lot more aware of my positive thinking. And also when stinking thinking or negative
Mm-hmm.
thinking starts to creep in
Yeah.
with some of everything, like if there's something that happens and I feel myself starting to go negative, I'll catch myself now and I'm like, why am I feeling that way? And
Mm.
I'll start to find ways to kind of start to shift more towards the positive side of things, or shift my thinking, shift my perspective, shift the outcome. And like, God, what is it that you're trying to show me? Like, I'm feeling negativity around this because I know
Yeah.
that's my flesh. But what is it in the spiritual world? Like, what is it that I'm not seeing that you're trying to show me? Because you're obviously taking me through this for a reason. So overall, I'm really excited about what's going to come over these next episodes because I wasn't expecting to be that aware and start to be thinking about that the positive thinking so much, but it's showing up everywhere around me.
Yeah, that's the beauty of our podcast, right? That we allow God to give us what he wants us to discuss. And then little did we know that every episode, right? Every season, every topic is teaching us something first,
Right.
right? And is changing us. But, God is so amazing that he allows us to relay this message, right? So, strategic and as clear as we possibly can to impact others, but along the way is also having an impact on us.
Mm.
And that same thing is happening with you, and the same thing with me as well, with thinking, like I mentioned, like when the idea initially came to me, there was a lot of things going on that wasn't as positive in my mind. And I feel like God is like wants me to really hone in on what positive thinking is and the impacts that it has on several things, which is we're going to be uncovering in each episode of this season. But man, like I'm doing good along with you, thinking about my life and things that are going on, and just turning every situation that might come across as negative. I have been totally flipping that to the positive,
Mm.
because I'm just realizing that everything happens for a reason, right? And nothing is happening to destroy me. Nothing is happening to negatively. What's the word I'm looking for,
That's the
Antoine?
word. That's the word. It's a tough one
Um
to say.
Negatively, there we go, destroy me or impact my life. And that's just where I'm at. Like everything that's going on, everything that I'm doing, just trying to switch everything to the positive and be more optimistic, with my clients, with my funding company, with my inquiry removal business. Like, there's certain things that are a little shaky. Like the banks are tightening up a bit on funding right now. There's just,
Mm.
we're like in a recession. So, some of my clients that I'm used to getting like higher limits, they're I'm seeing a bit of a difference. And even though I have relationships with banks, they're also telling me that things are getting more strict, right? They might start requesting more documentation. And I'm just like, but those things are happening, but I'm still telling myself, don't worry, you're going to figure it out. There's going to be a way around this. And if there's a new norm, I'm going to be okay with that new norm. Like,
Mhm.
and like literally, I just don't feel any negative feelings that could possibly come with thinking of the future. I'm like, it's gonna be okay. There's gonna be a way that I can turn this around. It's not the end of the world. Same
Right.
thing with inquiry removal. There are some bureaus that are not removing inquiries as fast as they did or removing them at all. And guess what? It's okay. Things are changing, and I just have to find my way around it. I am not allowing those things to completely stop me or scare me. I'm shifting things in my business. I'm making different decisions. Adding in new policies, and I'm also um trying to figure it out, right? I'm getting resourceful. I'm trying to
Mhm.
find out other people that are in the same industry. Are they having the same issues? Like, I don't let nothing stop me, right?
Mhm.
And so although there's multiple things going on in my businesses that I could have allowed to get me down, I am quickly trying to find a way to see the other side of it, and I'm not going to let it keep me down or let me think about the future and worry. We're not doing that, not in this season.
Mhm.
No,
I love that. I
we are
love
going to
that.
think positive. So with me, everything is going good. Continuing to work on myself, continuing to look at my businesses from every angle and seeing where I can improve, and you know everything is going good.
I
Can't
love it.
complain.
I love it. Yeah, the business analogy you just use, I mean, you couldn't have more accurately depicted what we talked about in our last episode
Mm-hmm.
around having that optimistic mindset and constantly thinking about this situation's happening this way in this moment for now, but if I do this, this, and this, or if I change these certain things, the outcome
Mm-hmm.
could be different. And having that mindset is so important. And just reminding us about the need in positive thinking of being resourceful and figuring it out. And where our mind naturally wants to get bogged down into negativity, immediately recognizing that and causing that shift. And I think as we think about the relationship side of things for the positive thinking and how those two go hand in hand, that's going to be a big part of it. If you take a moment, and I want everyone to think about maybe the closest relationship you have in your life right now, whatever that relationship would be. It can be a family member, it can be a loved one, it can be a sibling, it can be a friend. Think about that close relationship because all of what we're going to talk about today is going to be in respect to that. And I want you to be able to start to tie some of these concepts in with that relationship and think about it for what it is and what you've been experiencing. So before we jump into that, I just want to go over a few things as it relates to relationships. Like let's define it. In relationships, there's many different forms of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
We have business relationships, right? We have our intimate relationships with maybe a husband or a wife or a girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever that may be, right? And then we also have those friendships that are relationships that we have with friends, longstanding. Some of them even feel like they're more family based relationships because you've been and known each other for so long. But what is at the core of all of those relationships? There's really three things that's at the core of all of those relationships. The first one is trust. Think if you, again, thinking about the relationship that you're in now, think about the trust that you feel with that person. And again, this is your closest relationship. You
Yeah.
probably feel a high level of trust with that person. You feel like you can convey in them anything. You don't have to worry about them going to tell the whole world. You feel like you can be vulnerable because I think that's what trust really is. Trust is the ability to be vulnerable with someone. The other thing is communication. Communication is huge. It's very huge when it comes to a relationship because communication is all in how we connect with people. Through communication, we connect and build bonds and build rapport through communication. If I have terrible communication with someone, the likelihood of us being able to build that connection is very low. So if you think about
Mm.
that close relationship again, you'd probably rate your communication on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being fantastic. You'd probably rate that communication really high. I can almost guarantee you, right?
Yeah.
And then the last principle that is important to all relationships is respect. And I think this is the one with some relationships that can be a bit fickle. And I'm just going to be real, right? Trust and communication are ones that can trust specifically. It takes a long time to build trust with someone. But once you have it, it's kind of set, right? Like once someone's developed the trust, they can do something to break your trust. But in the back of the mind, you've already been through the process of developing that with them, right?
Yeah.
Communication is something that takes time, but it tends to develop a little bit quicker. Respect to me is one of those things that it can go many different ways, right? Some people say you have to earn my respect. Some people will give the respect freely. But to me, what I've seen in my own personal life and even with people that I'm close to is that respect can be very fickle. It can come and go. Like
I was gonna
someone
say
can do
that.
something, right? They can do something that pisses you off or makes you upset, and respect goes out the window. You don't lose trust in them. You may, waver some in how you communicate with them, but respect sometimes can go out the window real quick. And so respect, we're going to spend some time on respect in this episode too, because I think respect is a really important one. It's a true foundational part of a relationship that I think we all could probably admit that we need a little bit of work in the respect factor. So before I jump in, Ari, is there anything like what do you think about those foundations? Is there anything you maybe want to add to that list? Or do you think
No, I
that's
mean, I was just automatically thinking about respect because that's huge. And I can totally see how respect can relate to positive thinking. If you do not have your an ability to see the good in people, to see the good in every situation, to try to find a solution, and you're just thinking negative, like somebody's trying to play you, somebody's trying to take
Mhm.
something from you, somebody is lying to you. If you are coming from a place of negativity, that disrespect can come out like you saying it's
Mhm.
fickle, it's in and out depending on our mood, depending on where we're at, depending on
Mhm.
what happened in our day. But when you are in a constant state of positivity, right, and you're being hopeful in every situation, and someone you may deem is disrespecting you or maybe lying to you or deceiving you, you are not going to come from a place of negativity back and cause a disrespect or do something or say something that's disrespectful. What you're going to do is come from a place of love and understanding and maybe ask questions. You said something that really hurt my feelings. Are you okay? What's going on? I didn't really appreciate that. Maybe you need a moment. We talk tomorrow. So you just handle things differently. and
Mhm.
and respect can, like you said, you might not lose trust over that person, but respect, when it's tainted, it takes a while for you to start feeling like good with that person again. Like it takes time, and we can avoid that. So those are like, out of everything that you're saying, like the respect one, like I can totally see how positive thinking and having a positive outlook can impact that greatly.
Yeah, you nailed that one. I mean that one I think when you think of respect, the words that came to me is that respect is all about seeing someone. You're showing that person that you appreciate them.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think of respect, that's usually where I feel respect has gone out the window is when that's been violated. When I feel like someone's not seeing me for who I am or they're looking past me, they don't have that respect. Like they like kind of like you were mentioning early on, where like we'll sometimes get in our feelings about something and we'll want to go around that person. Like a great example is like think about like customer service, right? At some point during customer service, if you've anyone's ever experienced happen to get in the customer service conversation, you're trying to get something fixed. Maybe it's a refund, maybe you're trying to return an item, and you talk to someone in customer service, and there's this pendulum, which at some point you get so frustrated that you just lose respect for the person you're talking to.
Yeah.
And then immediately what you do, I need to talk to your manager. I need to talk to the next person
Yep.
up. I'm not even going to talk through you. You've completely taken that person out of the picture and lost all respect for them in the situation and what they're doing. And a lot of that's being driven by the emotions with inside of us. And we're
Yep.
allowing that to cloud, right? Cloud our positive thinking because now emotionally, we got emotionally charged and we've immediately switched to being negative. And so I think it's in those moments, like you were saying, it's taking a breath, really taking some time, like, you know what? I'm heated in this moment. I'm angry. Feel that because the anger is real. That angry moment, that angry feeling that you're feeling inside, that's real. Acknowledge it. Don't allow that to just kind of pass by. You want to
Yeah.
acknowledge it, but don't stay there. Allow that to happen in the moment and then allow that to pass on. And remember what respect is. It's about seeing that person. So start to ask the question, what am I not seeing? If we're using the customer
Yeah.
service experience, what am I not seeing in this moment about this person? Well, one, the person is trying to help you. Like at the core base, they are trying to help you. You may not like the answer that you're hearing. You may not feel they're giving the answer that you want to hear. But in the core sense, the person is trying to help you. I would say that deserves some respect. They're trying to help you and then show them that you appreciate them in trying to help. You can ask more questions. It doesn't mean you have to take what they're saying at face value, but you can ask more questions in a tactful way that lets them know, you know what, I really appreciate what you're doing. I know you're really trying to help me on this. I'm still
Mm-hmm.
struggling some with trying to understand how that equals that or why you can't do that. So can you help me at least understand where I need to be? You will be surprised of the outcome that would come from that situation and also how you would feel because you'll feel like you're getting a solution that you need, but you're not allowing yourself to stay in that negative place. You're seeing a different perspective. You're seeing a different outcome. You're seeing how by you seeing a different outcome, you now can support that person to help support you. It's a nice little feedback loop. And so, yeah, I think with respect, there's a lot that comes with unpacking respect as it relates to any type of relationship that you in, even if we're thinking about respect from the aspect of a personal relationship or an intimate relationship. You're saying that I even if I'm not able, like I'm trying to think of like the best example is like, sometimes people may get you may be in an intimate relationship, and let's say the person that you're with is laid off. Let's use that. They're laid off. And you feel as though they're not doing everything that they can do to try to find a job or to try to get ahead. And so in that moment, you have lost a lot of respect for them. You're looking at them sit on the couch, watching TV all day. They're not doing what they need to do, and you've lost respect in that person. Well, I would challenge you, right, to start to say, I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling this way. I'm noticing that I'm getting frustrated with this
Mm-hmm.
person. And what I see, and this is going back to what Ariana was talking about in the first episode, like what I'm feeling is I'm losing a lot of respect for this person because I'm really angry. I don't feel as though they are doing what they need to do. Positive thinking shift. But maybe they don't even know what to do. Maybe they don't know where to start. So what I could do is I can go to them and say, "Hey, would you like me to help you with looking up some places, or is there something I can do to try to help you again get into solution mindset, thinking about the
Yeah.
the opportunities that come from, and be optimistic, just like you mentioned with your business, you know?" And so I think there's some real opportunity in the respect space for us to again infuse that positive thinking, understanding that there is an appreciation that comes with positive thinking for understanding the differences that people may have and leveraging those opportunities to foster, build, strengthen that relationship we have with that person because now they feel as though we see them. They feel as though we understand
Yeah.
them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. And that can be with anything, whether it's a friendship, it's a loved one, it's your boss, your supervisor, oftentimes even when our own selves. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like we have to have grace on ourselves and we have to have grace on other people. Like everybody goes through things and we cannot judge how they may handle something based on how maybe I will handle something, right? Like if I'm with someone and they're laid off, back to your example, and they're laid off, um I'm gonna expect them to do X, Y, and Z and figure it out, get resourceful, go and look and ask for help, right? And but if they don't do that, maybe that's not a skill that they've developed. You
Mm,
know, this is a skill I've developed. And just being mindful of that person coming from a place of love, like what is this person's strengths? Right? If it's someone that is a relational to me, whether it's a good friend or a partner, husband, wife, a parent, we're gonna know who they are. We're gonna know like what they can and can do. But oftentimes we put blinders on because it's too much. We don't want to deal, figure it out. And we
mm,
just push them to the side and say things like are you dumb? And say mean things that can be very disrespectful, right? And it's like if we can only just sit back, think about that person, what are their strengths? Maybe this is not their strength, but it is mine. Let me help them try to seek a job opportunities. I know kind of their skills, what they've done in the past. Let me help them with their resume. Do you need this help? And if that person is open and says, yes, I do need help, it's been 4 weeks and, I've applied for a few places, but I haven't really gotten called back. Okay, let me look at the resume. Let me see what's really going on because I might be going to my 9 to 5 every day and not seeing what you're doing, but I'm assuming because I'm angry, because I'm becoming impatient with your process because you are not like me. So it's also understanding who that person is, right? And not putting yourself in the situation of they have to do it my way, you know, and that is something I struggle with, right? I tend to want people to do things the way I do them because I feel like this is so innate for me. This comes so easy to me, right? Because I forget that I went through my own process of learning things, right? I forget. And I'm just like, why aren't you like that? Why can you critically think your way out of that situation? Why aren't you, you know, quick on your feet? And I'm just like, you know, sometimes I catch myself, and that is still a kind of a weakness of mine, that I want other people to handle situations the way I would, you know, and me thinking that everything I do is the best way. It's not, but I have my moments, you know, being an alpha female. I'm starting to realize that other people do not have the same perspectives, the same mindset, the same skills that I've developed over time, same trainings that I've had to be able to handle certain things in a certain way that I would, you know? And when you come from that place, I know my strengths. I know that person's strengths. I know my weaknesses. I know that person's weaknesses. And if you can just come from a place of solutions with that person, okay, what can we do to shift the situation? Then we can mutually have that respect for each other and go and be in alignment and get towards the end goal that that person needs and what I need as well. If we're in a specifically if we're in a partnership, like we need to get something has to change here. So I think that's huge. And that can minimize a disrespect that you cannot take back, right? Because once you disrespect someone, if someone disrespects you, you might forgive it. You might put it under the rug, like if it never happened, but it's still a feeling that stays with you. That damn, that person did that to me. How dare they do that to me? Will they do that again? So before we do something that we cannot take back, let's see ourselves in the situation where we're at. Let's check in. Where am I at right now? Am I in a good place to even confront this person right now? Like, I know when I'm about to get my menstrual, I'm moody. I am not in a good place. And I'm just going to tell you how it is, what it is, and make you cry and be like, well, then you shouldn't have came to me. Instead of like, no, they're not in my mind. They don't know where I'm at. I got to check it with myself and know if I'm not in a good place, that I need to tell that person, hey, let's address that tomorrow. I know you really want to talk, but I'm not there right now. So we have to be emotionally intelligent to avoid any disrespectful moments that we can take back. And then there's also seeing that person and where they're at, because they might come at us with disrespect too. And I might be in a good place. I might not know that person isn't in a good place, but if I'm coming always from a place of love and positivity and hopefulness and solutions based, no matter what you're throwing at me, even if initially it's going to sting, I'm going to try to work a way around it and not let it get disrespectful. You know, as humans, we have the tendency of lashing out, saying the first thing that comes to our mouths. And that's kind of something that we all do. But this is why we're teaching this, so that you can now take a step back, where you can look at yourself. You can take a pause. You can look at the other person for really who they are and their strengths and their weaknesses and where they might be in that moment, because they might just not be in a good place. Right? They might be on their menstrual, right? Like they might have just gotten laid off. They might have just gotten cheated on. Like a loved one might have passed and they're just not in a good place. And they're just looking for, they're just looking for someone to dump it on because they just want relief, and they're dumping it on you. And sometimes it's okay if someone dumps on me. You know what I mean? Like if I really love you and you're not in a good place and you just want to vent, let it all out, like I will carry that burden for you out of love. Right. And I'm sure, and people have done it for me where they carry my burden out of love if I'm not in a good place, just to help me feel better. But it's not disrespect, right? It's just that it's just a person that is there for you to support you through some struggles that you might be dealing with or some emotions that you need to work through. But it shouldn't come with disrespect, but oftentimes it does. And you know, these are things that we can do to avoid that. So Antoine, like you definitely said it perfectly with that. And this relates to with the other components like communication, right? So everything that I was saying on builds on communicating. You know what I mean? Whether it's communicating with yourself, like what's going on with me, what can be going on with that person, checking in, and then conveying a message to the other person and letting that person know where you're at, right? So definitely having communication about what's going on and coming across always from a place of solutions, coming across from a place of hopefulness, right? That this can turn around. This doesn't have to stay this way, you know, is definitely a way to diffuse conflict, avoid disrespect, and avoid losing trust.
Yeah, there were so many great nuggets that you said in that whole um, part you was just explaining, and even sharing your personal experience and things. And I appreciate that because it's tough sometimes to be vulnerable about where we're at, especially when it comes to disrespect or when it comes to respect in general. I think we all have found ourselves in places where we've go, "Whoops, I probably shouldn't have said that," or "Whoops, that was not the positive version of me. That was the angry, frustrated menstrual cycle version of me, right?" I think there are those times that happens, but ultimately, what I'm hearing in everything you're saying is that it's easy for us to be in a place when we allow emotions to control our thoughts. It's easy for us to be in a place where we can dislike someone for their differences and vocalize that, right? But the strength comes when you can see people for their differences and appreciate it. And that strength is not only for you, the strength means something for them. Think about how many people who already know that maybe they are a little bit more abrasive than others, and that's how they go about living their life. If everybody they encounter, they tell them that same thing, but you're the one person who accepts them for who they are. Imagine
Yeah.
how that makes them feel. Imagine what that means for them in that moment. And the beautiful thing about positive thinking is that when you're positive to other people, right, it forces them in some ways, maybe not in that moment, but over time, if they get that enough, it forces them to have to start to be a little positive themselves. It's hard to be in a place of anger and frustration when someone's always giving you positivity. Like at some point you just have no choice but to crack because the love is too strong. Hate can't be around love. It has to go away. And whether that's you retreating or you saying, you know what, screw this hate thing, I'm leaning into
Yeah.
love, it's going to happen. But I'm so glad you brought up communication because I think if we go on that one a little bit more, like I was saying before, communication is about building that
Mhm.
connection and building that rapport. It's one of the most important aspects of any relationship is communication. And sometimes I know for myself, I've struggled with communication over the years. I've not always been a person that was a great communicator. In some cases, like if I'm upset about something, I'll sit on it and I'll fester on it and I wouldn't actually say something. And then at some point, someone would say something and like and it explodes, right? And then I'm like in some negative state where I'm spewing everything that I've been harboring for so long. And I realized that that wasn't good for me, nor was that good for the relationships that I was in. And so being able to be able to talk about that started with one, right? Having some respect or feeling that I'm being respected, but also feeling that there's some trust. So you're absolutely right. All the three connect. But
Yeah.
when it comes to communication, the thing that I think about mostly that comes up with relationships is in the troubled areas where you think about arguments, where you think about disagreements. And to me, an argument or a disagreement is just us seeing the same situation in two different ways, right? It doesn't mean necessarily that you're wrong and
Mhm.
I'm right or vice versa. We just have two different perspectives, and those perspectives are based off of our life experiences. So, going back to the same concept of what we were thinking about with rapport, positive thinking, as Ariana had talked about in the first season, is all about being able to see the opportunity, being able to see the outcome in a different light than what we normally see it in. It's being able to actually recognize that, hey, there is some positive that can come from this. Everything does not have to be negative. And what is the positive opportunity of this? How can I look at this situation very differently? And so I think positive thinking and communication has the ability to impact in a major way because you start to focus on solutions. You're no longer
Yeah.
thinking about just the problem. It's like, okay, this is a problem for both of us, but we have to get to a solution because I love you, right? I care about you. We are
Yeah.
in a relationship. I value that relationship. I value you. I trust you. I respect you. There's no reason why communication should be the thing that breaks us apart. Communication, if anything, should be bringing us together. It's meant to build us, it's meant to build that rapport. And so I think positive thinking supports conflict resolution because you start to shift from being very problem focused to being outcome results focused. You start thinking, what can we do that will get us the results that we want? And understanding that from the other person that you're with. And that communication between the two of you is critical because you have to step, just like Ariana was saying, you have to step outside of yourself. You have to step outside of what you're feeling in that moment and be able to talk in a way that the person understands where you're coming from, but also understands that you see where they're coming from as well. They have to feel that positive energy and that positive light that's coming from you in the words that you are saying. Does that resonate at all with you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was just thinking about everything that you were saying about communication and, positive thinking. And what came to me was an image of when I do not communicate, right? That leaves me in solitude and my own thoughts in dark, right? The only way that that can become light is if I know what's really going on, right? If I know that we're on the same page and that we're getting somewhere, that opens the doorway of communication. And there's a light when you communicate. When you do not communicate and you're in your head and you're in your thoughts and you're going to leave yourself in a dark place because it takes two, right? Communication
Mm-hmm.
takes two, not just one person, unless it's with yourself and you're meditating and you're just trying to figure out yourself. But when you want to build rapport and you want to build a relationship with somebody else, and there's something going on, like questions you might have, or something somebody said, or maybe their behavior or the way they're moving, and you're like, I don't know if I really trust that person because they're doing things that I'm not normally used to seeing. And typically, when people move like that, is because their intentions is this, this, and this. And we're making all these assumptions. We're keeping them all to ourselves, and we're keeping ourselves in a dark place. And only creating negative thoughts, only creating negative outcomes to that situation of thinking of that what that person could be doing, instead of coming from a place of, let me see where that person is at. Let me communicate with that person. Let me bring light into the situation, because right now there's just darkness in my mind and my feelings. I'm taking it personal. I'm thinking that somebody's out to get me, and you're just closed in, right? And that's what came to me, like just a darkness when you do not utilize your communication skills in any situation with anyone, specifically more towards your relational partners, right? If you have a girlfriend or boyfriend, a fiance or husband or wife, we can lose the love of our lives just by not communicating, because we're just assuming the worst at times in our own selves and our own brain. And then we can then open ourselves up, get vulnerable, right? Which is a big component. Get vulnerable and tell that person where we're at, what we're thinking, what's really going on. And half of the time we'll realize that everything that we were thinking, we were so off, or maybe we were on point a little bit, but everything else, we created that story, and we could have tarnished a beautiful relationship or something that could have led to a beautiful relationship. And we completely destroyed it because we stayed in our own darkness and kept thinking negative by not communicating. And it seems easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
Communicate, just speak. But when you are like negative Nancy and you're just always thinking negative, it is hard for you to even want to open up and try to be vulnerable, because you're already coming from a place of closed. You're already coming from a place of closeness. You're already coming from a place of I don't trust. You're already coming from a place of this has happened before. I've seen this before. It's happening again. And you don't even want to bring it up because you're like, what's even the point of bringing it up? I already know what it is.
Right.
And I've fallen in that category so many times where I have trust issues and I don't communicate what's really going on because I don't want to get vulnerable. And a lot of the times I was wrong. I was thinking the worst in a situation or someone. And it's like, girl, like they weren't even thinking that. That wasn't what they were really trying to do. That had nothing to do with you. That was nothing about you. But since I haven't been practiced, since I hadn't practiced the positive thinking and seeing everything from a positive view where the other person could be at, and also trying to communicate if I do feel like something is going on that is negative towards me, it has created a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm realizing, through this episode and just in my personal life that I don't have to do that. I can be vulnerable. I can communicate what I'm feeling. I can tell somebody what's going on with me. And hey, let's talk about this. Like, let's have effective communication. Let's resolve whatever conflict may be going on, because a lot of times there's nothing there. And you could be wasting years and years and years not talking to someone. All of that could have been avoided. All of that could have been avoided, because we have to understand that we're all human and we're all imperfect, right? And we can look at that person from a place of love, and no matter what they're really thinking or battling inside, there is a way to get that person to feel safe to let down their guard and rebuild with you. There is a way to do that, but it starts with you first thinking about that situation in light, with light, with love, with positivity, with there's a solution towards this. And more than not, the other person will be willing to at least give you an ear. Even if at that moment they might not be ready to talk, they will be at least willing to let me hear what you have to say, and give them some time. They'll come back and be like, you know what? I thought about what you said. And, I do want to drop whatever issues we had, whatever troubles may have come our way, because I love you enough, because I want to continue to build this relationship. We don't have to, think of each other in the worst way possible, because we're human and we're here to try to improve. And as long as you come from a place of love, I think that conflicts can definitely be resolved just with talking. That's
Yeah.
with
Yep.
talking.
So
But
simple.
I understand it's hard to do, but definitely give it a try.
Yeah, I love that analogy of the dark and light because yeah, positivity is all about light. And that saying they'd always say that eventually everything comes to light. And you're absolutely right. Like, why not take control over that situation? And when it comes to light, that you are in the driver's seat with God in determining what that is that needs to be conveyed. Why not look internally? Because sometimes, like you were just saying, sometimes as much as we think it's not us, we are the main problem. Like we are the thing that's keeping ourselves stuck. We are in our head about what we think. We've created a mountain out of a molehill, truly,
Yeah.
because of what we've experienced in our past experiences. And that's what I love about positive thinking is that positive thinking is almost like you get a chance to call a timeout. Because I'm going to be real with you guys. To sit here on this podcast and tell you that you'd never have a negative thought ever again in your mind, I would be lying as big as day, right? It's going to happen. You're going to always have negative thoughts. They're around us. Like there's really no way of getting away from them. The power of positive thinking that we've been talking about this season is being able to recognize when you've allowed negativity to creep in and knowing what you should be doing to change that, to shift that, so that you have a different outcome because you are in control of your life. You are in control of the outcome. Yes, you're guided by God, but God, it's free will. God allows us to do what we're going to do. But it's that tiny little voice, that little thing deep down inside you that's saying, hey, Antoine, you should do something a little bit different this time. Are you listening to that? Are you listening to that voice and leaning into something different? And to me, the inflection point that changes that is all positive thinking. You have to get outside of your own self and look at things through a different lens and through a different perspective. And so, Ariana, I think you like really nailed that on the communication. And I think communication, respect, we've talked about both those. Those are big topics. But to me, the biggest and the one that I think underpins all of these sections is trust. If I don't trust you, can I communicate with you? If I don't trust you, can I have respect with you? And I think trust, like I said before, is one of those things that it takes a long time sometimes to develop trust. Even if you're someone who you give trust up front, like you don't make someone have to earn it, you're like, I'm just going to trust them at face value. There's levels to trust. I can trust you at face value, but not trust you like I trust my best friend. I can trust you at face value, but can't trust you like I can trust my brother or my mother. There's a different level of trust and it gets deeper over time. And that deepening of that
Yeah.
trust comes through overcoming some very big hurdles, very big situations, events in life that have happened where you've shown in those situations that you're worthy to be trusted, whatever that situation may be. And so when I think of trust, negativity destroys trust completely. Any type of thought, any type of action, any type of negative word, any negative feeling completely destroys trust. If you bring that type of energy around someone that you're asking to trust you, it does not manifest into that relationship actually becoming a trustworthy relationship. Think
Yeah.
about it. If you have someone in your life in which all they're doing is bringing negative thoughts or they're doing negative things, whatever that may mean, like in terms of actions, or they're speaking negativity around you, you don't trust them. Like I can't trust you no further than I can throw you because I know that once I say something, you're going to either counteract it with something negative, or you're going to take something that I'm feeling, this energy that I'm feeling with inside myself, that's giving me light, that's giving me the feeling that I can do anything. You're taking that and you're raining on my parade because you're in a bad spot. It doesn't allow me to want to open my heart to trust you because there's pain that comes with that. And I think that's the big part, at least for me, when I think of trust, that's the big part is you you want to be able to be open and vulnerable with someone. That's the point of trust, is when I trust you, I can be open and vulnerable. I can share my thoughts, I can share my feelings, I can share what I'm going through. But if I'm sharing that stuff with you and all you can tell me is, oh yeah, you can definitely screw that up. Oh, what? Millionaire? What's wrong with you? You ain't gonna be no millionaire. You know where we came from. What? Relationship? Oh, that person's just gonna cheat on you, just like every other person that's cheated on you in your life. That negativity makes you not trust them. You're like, I
Yeah.
can't open and be vulnerable to you anymore. I can't share my deepest thoughts with you anymore because when I do, I'm being judged. You're judging me.
Yeah.
You're not seeing me for who I am. Yes, I've made mistakes. Yes, bad things have happened in my life that have caused me to take setbacks and things have happened. But I'm not looking for you to beat me down. I'm looking for you to build me up. And that's where positive thinking comes in. It's that but statement that Ariana had talked about before. Yes, every other person in your life that you've ran across has cheated on you, but this time it's going to be different. And here's why it's going to be different. You're going to do some things differently than what you've done before. And you've got that within you because not only you're a child of God, but you are smart. You know exactly what you're looking for. You just lowered your standards because you thought you weren't capable. But in this
Yeah.
moment, I'm telling you, you are 100% capable, and you need to stop playing around with those scallywags. Where I got scallywags from, but you even stop playing around with those people who aren't even stepping up to the plate of where you are and start
Yeah.
playing in the league that you're in, the league that God created you for. And when someone says that, it builds trust. You're like, you know what? I can open my heart to this person because I know in opening my heart, they're strengthening me. They're building me to a better person. They're seeing something inside of me. They're communicating in a way that resonates with my spirit. They show that they respect me and accept the differences that I have within me. And I think all of that, when I think of trust, that is necessary. It's totally necessary. What do you think, Ari?
No, I mean, like, what came to me, it's funny how as we're talking, I just sense things and it's just like, okay, I don't know where this is going, but it's coming out anyway, right? Is that we started this conversation with saying principle one, trust, principle
Mm-hmm.
two, communication, principle three, respect. But look at where we started the
Mm-hmm.
conversation. We started with respect, then we went to communication, and then we went to trust. And what hit me, I'm like, nothing happens by coincidence. Everything is intentional with God and specifically with this podcast because we know it's God led, right? And what hit me was that with myself, I know a lot of people give trust, like, that's the first thing they do. They give trust and then you lose trust, right? Some people, you don't have to earn it with them. With me, if anybody knows me, it's earned. And looking at this model and the way we started it, it kind of resonated with me with how I am. That when I feel respected, when someone highly communicates with me, when people see me, right? When we have mutual respect, we can communicate with each other about what's going on. We don't leave each other in the dark. We're going to bring it to light and we are going to work on that. And we're going to talk about it and we're going to fight it through, bite it through, but we're not going to let this fester. I've noticed that those are the people that I develop a level of trust that is sustainable, that never goes away, right? Because we started with respect. We respect one another. We can talk about things. You know what I mean? We've built our rapport. We can get through conflicts, right? We have conflict resolution. We don't leave things in the dark for long. We are going to bring light to any situation and talk about it, right? Then with that person, I'm not thinking negative. I'm not acting negatively. I'm not saying negative words and I'm not feeling negative, right? We're having positive thoughts, positive feelings, positive actions, positive outcomes because we've solidified a level of respect, of valuing one another, seeing one another, coming from a place of love for one another, right? We can then get vulnerable and communicate go down to the nitty gritty of what's really going on, crying it out if we need to cry it out, scream it out if we need to scream it out respectfully, right? We're gonna let it all out, right? The enemy wants us to stay quiet. The enemy wants us to fester things inside and let them just stay there forever. That's what he wants us to do because he knows the power of communication. He knows that if any two people can communicate about anything, the level of trust that they're going to have with one another and the things that those people can do in the world, whether it's in their marriage, was in their friendship, was in business, right, with their children, the things that they can do together, right, is powerful. The enemy doesn't want anything of power, right? He wants us to just fall for his traps. And we can relieve ourselves from his trap by having a level of respect, communicating intensively about things, not letting things fester, staying in the dark, bringing things to light, talking about them, talking through them, right? And giving things time, because sometimes people are not ready to talk, and that's okay. So if you're in the situation and you feel like, well, I've tried and it hasn't, nothing has changed, maybe give that person some time. Remember, like we said in our last few episodes, that sometimes things are not of now, but God puts them in our awareness, but they're not for us to do anything now with them. So the same thing with people. They might not be in a place to receive the things that we want to talk about, but we at least put it out there. Hey, when you feel better, I would like to talk to you about something, right? We can leave it for later. That's fine. We don't always have to blurt every little feeling out right when we feel them. We have to have emotional intelligence and know that there's a time and place for everything, and it will be God ordained. And you will have the most beautifulest conversation with that person and get through that hump better than if you just blurt everything out and think that there's going to be a resolution because you communicated. So there's a time and place. Just want to put that out there. But if we have that and we have respect, then we can have the ultimate trust. You know, we can have the ultimate trust that even if someone may have perceived to have broken our trust, we can understand, okay, like what must have happened here? Did we not communicate about things? Like, were we not vulnerable with each other? Like something happened to break a trust, and it can be broken for some time, but not forever, right? It's because you can always repair things through communication, through respect, through having respect and honor for the other person, coming from a place of love and just finding the positive in everything. We can get through any resolutions if you feel like it's mutually beneficial and if you know that God is in the midst. Because I do want to say that sometimes God wants to separate people because God is like, this is not good for your future. Like time has come, that person got to go, and that is okay as well. So we have to be able to decipher the two. But if it's someone that you've built a long lasting relationship with, you've had respect, you feel that person enhances your life, you feel like that person brings more positivity than sometimes negativity, because again, we're all human, right? And that God is in that relationship, then it's worth fighting for, even if there might have been little mishaps of broken trust, right? Disrespect, or that person didn't communicate with me. We're not going to always be perfect, but if you feel like there's more negative than positive, there's nothing coming good out of a relationship, you're never feeling like you can enhance yourself. Just you feel like I don't even want to be here no more. If they're bringing you to those thoughts and feelings about yourself, then you might have to reconsider, navigating differently with that relationship, and maybe stepping away. And that's totally fine as well. Some people are not in our lives forever. Sometimes they're just in our lives for a season or for a reason. And few stay lifetime. And, those people are definitely worth keeping, repairing anything that could have happened, any mishaps.
100%. Wow, wow, wow. Man, I have to say that one line you said about the enemy knows that where two people come together in positive thinking and they have strong communication, God is in the midst and great things will come from that. And so the first thing he attacks is the communication. The first thing he breaks down is the communication. That is powerful. And if you did not hear that, rewind this multiple times and let that sink in, because I saw that in so many ways in my life when you just said that. Because there are relationships and things that I've had where I've allowed communication to break down because of whatever reason that I've had that has caused those relationships to either go away or not be there anymore, even though, like you said, there was more positive than good. And
Yeah.
I think that you calling
More
that out is
positive than negative, you meant.
yeah, yeah, thank you. More positive than negative. See, my mind's even all twisted. I done got so excited about what Ariana just said. My mind's got me saying all kinds of crazy stuff. But I mean, ultimately, what we really wanted everyone to understand in this podcast was that positive thinking is more than this frou. I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm going to be positive, I'm happy. It's not about that. Positive thinking is about seeing the opportunity, seeing the possibility, seeing beyond the distractions, seeing beyond the hurdles, seeing people for who they are. That's what positive thinking is. If you're living in a place of negativity, you can't see that stuff. And so we challenge you, everyone that's listening, we're challenging you to start thinking positively about your life, seeing things differently, shifting your perspective. It's because when you do those things, the outcomes that come from them are out of this world. And so when it comes to your relationship, remember trust, communication, respect. Those three things that are foundational to every relationship is starts and ends with positive thinking. When you've been in a position where you can start thinking more positively about the relationships you have, those three things will thrive and survive forever and ever. And I can tell you that with absolute certainty. Because why? Positive thinking is all about love and understanding. And when we think of love, who is love? God is love. And God is always thriving. God is always around, and God will be here forever and ever. And so I think that's really important for everyone to understand and grasp.
Wow, Antoine, perfectly said. Perfect way to wrap up our concept of what we were talking about. So thank you so much for that. As usual, y'all, if you have any thoughts, comments, or anything that you would like to share, we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below. And with that, thank you for tuning in. And until our next episode, always remember, having faith in God, having faith in yourself, and having faith in others will create the evolution that you are seeking.
Go.